Hello. If you're growing onions, there are always lots of choices to be made, lots of decisions to be made. Are you going to be growing from onion sets, or are you going to grow from seed? If you do grow from onion sets, are you going with the more expensive heat treated sets? How about onion starts? That's a small onion plant started from seed, usually by a commercial grower, and us gardeners can buy those. We can get onion starts if we want to. We can grow these sorts of onions, or we can grow redskins. But a lot depends on the space available, doesn't it? If you're growing in an allotment, or if you've got a big backyard or a big garden, then you might want to go with several different varieties and plant lots of them, so as not to put all your eggs in one basket. Well, here at Homegrown Veg, we just have a small garden, but we don't like to put all our eggs in one basket. So over this last 12 months, we've tried several different things. We've grown winter onions. That's onions planted in the autumn of the year and grown through winter, into spring, into summer. And I've got to tell you now, that was an abject failure. I didn't get a single onion. And I think that's because of the extremes of weather we had early in the year here in the UK. We had floods, we had wall-to-wall sunshine, we were breaking temperature records. That must have affected the plants, and all the onions that I grew over winter bolted, and they were onions grown from sets. So that was a failure. But I also grew some onions in my raised bed, and I grew some onions from sets, and I grew some onions from seed. Now these are the onions I grew from sets, and I harvested these about 2 weeks ago. As you can see, they've been top and tailed, and they're starting to turn a nice straw colour now. I'm just drying them off in these old crates. But take a look at this. This was me harvesting those onions a couple of weeks back. And notice the onions that I don't harvest, the onions that I leave in the bed. Check those out, as well as the onions that I do harvest. So we were happy with those onions, we definitely were, and they're the ones grown from sets. But the ones in behind hadn't fallen over, they were still standing tall, and so they weren't ready to be harvested. I needed those to fall over. Well, a fortnight later, those onions fell over. So this is what the onions that were grown from seed looked like just after I'd harvested the onions grown from sets. And this is what they looked like a fortnight later. And one thing I would point out is the spacing that I used for those onions. A 4-foot wide bed, 11 onions sown at 4-inch spacings. Hey, that's tight, isn't it? That's tight. And that's another thing. How do you decide how much space you're going to give your onions? Well, here at Homegrown Veg, if we buy 50 onion sets in a packet, are going in. And if they won't go in the bed, then some of them will finish up in buckets. And if they won't go in the buckets, some of them will finish up in yogurt pots. So I'm not too sure there is a correct spacing for onions. I've watched lots of videos on YouTube, and various gardeners give their onions different amounts of room to grow. But when you're stuck for room, when you're stuck for space, you can only go with what you've got. And as I've already said, if I bought 50 onion sets, they're going in one way or another. And if I've also started onion from seed and I get good germination, then I've got lots of those onions to go in, and they're going in one way or another. And the onions in the raised bed went in at 4-inch centres, so I could get as many in as possible. And then what was left over, buckets and yogurt pots. Anyway, have a look at these onions being harvested. I harvested these onions yesterday. I'll just show you a couple now, and then we'll cut to me harvesting the onions. How about these guys? How about these guys? Ailsa Craig, grown from seed. Wow, we're happy with those. And these are the ones grown from sets. Okay, watch me harvest these onions, then come back to me. let's just recap. Winter onions, total failure. But that's not to decry winter onions. I've had successes with winter onions before. I just didn't have a success this year. Onions from sets. Yep, we're happy with these. These are the guys we harvested a couple of weeks back. Yeah, we're happy with those, so that's a success. And you would have to say those onions grown from seed, the Ailsa Craigs, another success. So all we've got to do now is get those dried off, then we'll top and tail them, and we'll crate them up like these onions, and they will store in my garage for month after month after month after month. How do I know? Because I've done it. Want to check it out? There's videos on the channel. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've done well with your onions. And if you haven't, hey, there's all next year, isn't there? There's all next year. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.